I think the challenge with Southeast Asia is that the whole ecosystem isn't as mature as everyone thinks. It's not as complete.
Okay, so now we're with the founder of Miman. So it's an Indonesian startup. In the last video, his background and his experience in Silicon Valley and how his Chinese background has helped him to become an entrepreneur. So now we're going to keep interviewing Joseph, a serial entrepreneur in Indonesia, on problems and the situation of the Indonesian startup ecosystem on funding, hiring, and exits, and things like that. So here's the interview.
I mean, I heard like SaaS is getting more common here in Indonesia.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, definitely because of tech winter. If I'm talking from an investor's point of view, right? Now they're looking for profitable companies.
Yeah.
But 5 years ago, when I was still doing my CRM company, we tried once to let's try to raise funds, see what's out there. No one were interested in us because we're profitable. And that's always been like a huge question mark for me. Like, why are you punishing me because I'm profitable, right? And now those same investors came back like, oh hey, what about that company? But now we're like very profitable, right? So I'm like, no, there's no need for me to sell my equity stake. Yeah.
So you're not thinking of like getting investments from other?
Not for that company.
Oh yeah.
Not for this CRM company because it's a cash cow. But for Miman, yes, because at the same time with Miman, we're expanding. Right, so we do need the capital to expand, but also to grow faster. Yeah.
Yes. Is it common for like an Indonesian startup to expand overseas? Because like I've heard not many are like.
No. Yeah. When I talk to Indonesian investors, for example, generally they will ask why I'm expanding internationally, right? They question why not just Indo. But when I talk to overseas investors, they actually appreciate that we're expanding internationally and not just focus on Indonesia, right? And sometimes I think Indonesians have this kind of bubble, whereas for me, I just look at, well, if you look at the market in Indonesia, right? It's huge population, of course, right? So if you're doing a B2C type of business, then yes, it's a great market, right? But if you're doing mainly for B2B, you kind of have to like calculate, okay, how many businesses are of a certain size who can pay a certain budget and who have the interest to do these sorts of initiatives, right? And when you calculate it, it's not as much as you think, right? So going international is the right way.
Is this like maybe because of your international background, or is that?
No, there's a lot of entrepreneurs here have very similar backgrounds with me. I think it's just different mindsets, right? That's just how I view it. I think I'm right? But I'm pretty sure they think they're right as well.
I see.
Yeah.
But I mean, your English is perfect too. I mean, like that must like help you.
Yeah. I suppose. Yeah.
But I guess that's not the main.
No, I don't think so. I think it's because I've sold to businesses in Indonesia for more than 12 years now already. That I know the market. I've met the people, right? I've met the executives at big businesses, also at for small businesses as well, right? So I kind of feel like, okay, I've seen the market in Indo. What I'm curious about is the market overseas, right? So I know how much I can acquire out of Indonesia, and I'm excited to acquire more from overseas.
Yeah. Very nice. I'm guessing that this like service is like, we do have like a similar service in Japan as well for like wine and all that. And is it like competitive here in Indonesia, or like especially if you're like expanding for like Singapore, for example?
Yeah.
Like, I guess.
So Miman has 5 main services. It level of competition differs for each product. For some product, yes, very competitive. So for example, our omni-channel inbox feature, it's very common. And to be honest with you, we just built that just because it's so common, right? Like you have to have that type of feature. But then when you get into, for example, features about generative AI chatbot, I can say regionally, not just Indonesia, regionally, it's still very rare. And AI is a word that everyone throws around these days, but I feel like they throw it around too often, right? So I've met businesses, I've met clients, and they tell me, oh, Pak, why is your price very different compared to this? I say, oh yeah, because we use generative AI. Oh yeah, but they say they also use AI. And when I ask them, okay, can you show me what they showed you, right? It's clear it's not AI. It's not apple to apple, right? So for that particular product, there's not much competition yet.
I see.
But at the same time, it's still a very nascent industry, so a very early industry as well. Yeah.
Speaking of AI, I think it's like really, I'm assuming it's really key to get like the right engineers to work with you. Are you able to like find that in Indonesia, or do you like outsource it?
We can. So we built everything in-house, right? So everyone is in Indonesia. I guess one of the good thing about Tech Winter is that it kind of normalizes the salary standards and things like that, right? Because back then, all of these venture-backed companies would just like pay ridiculous amounts of money, right, for salaries. And if you're trying to build a business where you're not burning heaps amounts of cash, it's going to be very challenging. But I think with the Tech Winter, it kind of normalizes that pricing.
What would be your like future goals to this company? Like, is it an M&A or IPO or?
It's definitely an IPO, because I do see there's a big potential there, right? Because we aim to be profitable by end of next year, right? So we see it in line, right? And so far, a lot of tech companies in Indonesia that's IPO is not profitable. I think there's a case or there's a story to be made that would be very exciting for a tech company in Indonesia doing AI that is profitable. So that's,
So IPO in Indonesia would be your goal.
I don't know where, but you asked me. It's still a dream, right? That's still a target. So.
Do you see any opportunities in expanding to Japan, or like what sort of people would you want to meet? Like
in Japan, I think I just love to understand the market better. Definitely, if I could meet investors in Japan, but
do you think there's like any issues or problems that could be more solved with like the startup ecosystem here in Indonesia?
I think, and I'm pretty sure you can find this answer if you talk to investors as well. I think the challenge with Southeast Asia is that the whole ecosystem isn't as mature as everyone thinks. It's not as complete. We're very big on early stage, but there's no path to either M&A or IPO, right? Or to making it big, right? Like in the US or in China or even in Europe, right? There's that path to M&A, right? In the US, there's a lot of maybe Fortune 500 companies who are your potential acquirers. In Indo, it's very limited. Like the conglomerates probably wouldn't be the potential acquirers. So I think that's a huge problem in Southeast Asia, because if most of your deals are like seed A or B, right? Then how do you scale? Because all of the IPOs that came out of Southeast Asia, on average, right, its stock price went down. Right? I mean, in Indonesia, the two largest e-commerce that IPO, it's not news, right? The stock price, especially total stock price, went down significantly. Now, I don't know what they're going to do about that, but that's an issue, right? Yeah.
I see.
Okay, so that's the end of the interview with Miman, the founder of Miman, and there were key insights on how difficult having an exit in Indonesia, and the effects of having like the funding winter and all that. But at the same time, even though there's a situation of it could be hard being a startup in Indonesia in that sense, but the entrepreneurial culture and startup ecosystem is really like flourishing and emerging. So just like Joseph, the founder of Miman, there are like startups that are looking into like the global market, even though Indonesia is like a huge market though, but which is very impressive. And I'm sure he's one of like the rare kind, but it's really good to see that, and it's really exciting to see like those sort of startups are global minded startups are there too. So I hope you learned a lot from this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you at the next video, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.